Hi, cat. Come and get some mango, baby.
One, two, 1, 2, 3. Self-awareness is a superpower. My name is KathyLaDonna. Welcome to Soul and Vibration. I hope the free thinkers are doing well. And if you're not doing well, I'm happy to remind you that you are the most powerful person that you know. You are the most powerful person that you know because only you can create your reality. So this video is part 1 of the new moon in Scorpio video. Part 2 is available on Patreon. And part 2, I go deeper into the sun, moon, and rising placements and pull some cards and see whatever channeled message wants to come up. So when it comes to this new moon in Scorpio video, this video is about 5 things that I want to share with you about this new moon energy. So the first thing that I want to share with you is the numerology, and this new moon is happening on November 1st, and the energies in the day adds up to the number 11. So we have the 11-11 aspect to this new moon. But before I get into that, we are in an 8th year. So with us being in an 8th year, the number 8 deals with a wrapping up of a cycle. The number 8 deals with systems and cycles on a whole anyway. So when it comes to us being in an 8th year, collectively, we're reflecting on our lives and all aspects of our lives. It could be your relationships, your career, whatever. You're taking inventory and you're asking yourself, are you going to evolve it to a next level next year? Or are you going to, scrap it, bring something completely to an end? So we are in a year where pretty much it's like an inventory. We're reflecting on where we're going to take things. So there could be like a bit of a back and forth aspect as you're trying to figure out, are you going to keep going forward on a thing or take your energy back and save it for the next thing? So I always look at this energy like, when doing business, it's like, okay, within this business, how is this business doing? Am I happy with the business? Am I happy doing this thing? Do I want to take it to the next level? So that means that I'm going to invest more into the business, assuming it's going to give me back way more than I invest. Or am I going to cut my losses and plan how I get up out of this thing? And I feel like within an 8th year, that's where the focus is on. Major transformations are happening as we're ending cycles. The number 8 deals with cycles. As you turn it onto the side, you see the infinity symbol. So we're in November for this new moon energy. And November is the 11th month. And whenever I think of November energy or the number 11, I always think about magical energy. And I think about magical energy in the sense that the force, when it comes to the number energy, the turbulence with the 2 1s amplified, because the number 11 is the number 1 repeated. When I think of that amplifying energy, I think of it as a force that could be used to do whatever we choose to do with it. And whenever I think of the number 11, I always think of a turbulent energy where, I think of this could be the energy that, could be used to create natural disasters type of vibe, or this is the kind of energy that could be used to transform the world type of vibe, in a positive way. It's like, it's that force, it's that momentum, it's that turbulence, and it's all about what you do with the energy. Like the energy itself for me is innocent. It's all about our intentions pertaining to the energy. So when I think of November 2024, November 2024 adds up to the number 10, reduces to the number 1 vibration. So this brings me to some kind of a new beginning within the frequency. So it's like, yes, we're in an 8 cycle and we're deciding whether to wrap something up or take it to the next level. But while we're considering that, we're also entering into a new beginning where that's concerned, just like the day being the first, dealing with new beginnings. And when I look at the numbers, the 11th month, the day is the 1 and the energies add up to the number 11. And when you add the month and the year together, you get the number 1 again. So there's so many ones, you know, so many ones present, a lot of ones present along with the number 8 for the year. And when I think of all those ones along with the 8 year, I think of like power struggle energies. It's like a forcing of a new beginning because this is a new moon. So the number 1s also bring me to new ideas. The number 11 energy brings me to amplified ideas. And sometimes when it comes to these ideas with the number 11 or the number 1, these ideas could be so original. And because we don't see anything mirroring it within the world, anything reflecting it, anything familiar or anything like it, we might not trust ourselves and kind of like hold them in. And I feel like after a while, these ideas, you know, we're meant to be a channel. So whenever we have ideas or inspirations that we hold on inside of us, I feel like they can turn against us. It's almost like turn into something that attacks you on the inside because it's not meant to sit inside of you. It's meant to release. It's meant to flow out. So when it comes to today's energy, you know, and this new moon energy, it's like a force. It's like there's this force coming through with new energy. And for those of us who have a lot of great ideas, who feel so mentally stimulated with all kind of thoughts and ideas coming through, you want to do one of two things. You want to either pull out a journal and write down all these ideas that's flowing through you during this new moon energy, or turn on a recorder, your smartphone maybe, and turn on recording a video and just talk, just vent and allow it to all flow out. Because for those of you who are confused as to what your next step is or what it should be, with all the ideas that you list out, you might notice that these ideas are like pieces of the puzzle coming together, helping you to see a bigger picture. You'll also realize that these new ideas aren't so new, they're just dressed up different, and the same ideas keep coming to you dressed in a different way, encouraging you to take a chance on something. When it comes to this new moon, the new moon is at 9 degrees. So the number 9 now deals with endings. The number 9 is a chameleon type energy. The number 9 for me is like water, in the sense that wherever you place it, it takes the form of whatever container you put it in. And when I think of the moon being at 9 degrees, I think of like, say, you know, entering into Scorpion energy and being at 9 degrees and then going to the number 10. Eventually it's like at a state where it's like getting ready to transform into a new aspect. So what I get with this new moon at 9 degrees, it brings me to being at like, how'd I put it? It's like being at, it's like I think of like, say, like straddling the fence kind of, but not necessarily straddling the fence. It's like at the end of one phase, getting ready to enter into a new, is what I would get with the number 9 energy. But when it comes to the new moon being at 9 degrees, it also brings me to the thought of humanity deals with the number 9. The number 9 vibration is tied to humanity, humanitarianism, big focus on, you know, on the world and what's important for the world. Also too, at the 9 degrees brings me to having a hard time leaving a certain aspect of our lives behind in order to go after what's for us. So I think of like, I'm imagining in my head where it's like someone has always known that, you know, at a certain time, you're going to have to go to this new place because there's a whole new life for you there. And you've always been prepared for, you know, knowing that you have to go off to this new place. And it's like the 9 degrees brings me to someone at the doorway, and behind them is their old life, and in front of them is their new life. And it's like they're kind of like, you know, questioning, should I keep moving forward and go off into the unknown, or do I stay with these people in this situation where I've grown to love these people? I understand them, they understand me, I feel safe here because it's familiar and I know everything that I need to know here. Should I just stay here, or should I move forward? And with the number 9 energy with the new moon, it brings me to, there's something hard about this new moon. There's something hard to let go when it comes to this new moon. It'll almost feel like a being forced out vibe. It would remind me of a baby that is way overdue within the womb, and they have to go and take the baby out because for whatever reason, instead of the baby doing what babies are supposed to do and make their way out, is like this baby is staying in, and we know the baby can't stay there. We know the baby can't stay there. So, you know, this new moon is all about giving birth to something. And that brings me to the second thing that I want to share of the 5. And the second thing is what happens when we have a new moon in Scorpio. So first of all, a new moon is when the sun and the moon come together. And when the sun and the moon comes together, it brings me to the thought of masculine and feminine energy coming together and becoming one. It brings me to numbers, where the number 1 is masculine, it's the father. The number 2, it's feminine, it's the mother. And the 1 and 2 comes together and they co-create the number 3. But before you even get to the co-creation, the number 1 is the masculine energy, which is an idea. The number 2 is the feminine energy that nurtures the idea, you know, like a womb. It nurtures the idea and then it gives birth to the number 3, which is the child, which is the tangible outcome of the thought that the number 1 had, the thought that the father, masculine energy, had, that was nurtured by the number 2. And now we have this tangible experience, which is the number 3. So to me, the new moon is where the 1 and 2, the mother, father, the sun, the moon, the masculine, feminine energy comes together to nurture a tangible outcome. And, you know, for all of us, the tangible outcome that's being nurtured and given birth to will look different. So whenever we have a new moon, the sun and the moon are always at the exact degrees. And in this situation, it's at 9 degrees. And the new moon energy means new beginnings. So a new moon in Scorpio would mean a new beginning in different things. A new beginning could be a new beginning in psychology, because Scorpion energy deals with our psychology. And for me, the way how I see psychology, I always think of the opposition, which is Taurus. And Taurus, like the second house energy, deals with values, tangible assets. It's the things that we value, not just our tangible assets, but it could be you grow up within a family and you see certain behaviors and certain habits. There's a repetition of things that you see all the time. And there's a level of comfort with these things because you see it all the time. So you grow to value these things, even if they might not be things that are worth anything to anybody else, but they're worth something to you. But in order to secure these things that you value, you need to develop a psychology, a way of thinking and seeing the world where these things are concerned in order to encapsulate and protect them. So when I think of, say, a new moon in Scorpio, I think of gaining a new psychology, and seeing things in a new way, gaining a new perspective. But gaining a new perspective because you value, you know, there's been a change in your value system. So a change in the value system could mean there's some shift when it comes to the family dynamic, shift when it comes to your money. There's some shift when it comes to your stable reality. Something has shifted and you now have a new perspective. So a new moon in Scorpio could mean a new beginning when it comes to your psychology. Maybe for someone with this new moon in Scorpio, they've decided to sign up to get a therapist, sign up for a psychologist, sign up to speak to someone, decide to get some kind of coaching or even reading, or even go to see a psychic, or go to see someone to dive deeper into your psyche, to dive deeper and understand the workings of your mind, or dive deeper to understand the workings of the non-physical realm, because the Scorpio energy deals with our psychology. It deals with metaphysical things, occult, divination, and occult just mean anything hidden. So with this new moon energy and anything hidden, it could mean new beginnings pertaining to investing, finance, the Federal Reserves. When you think of Taurus energy, the opposition of Scorpio, think of the tangible things that we own and the tangible assets that we have. And when you think of Scorpio energy, think about the non-tangible things, the things that you cannot grasp, the things that you cannot hold, but these things are in the background like a skeletal system, pretty much determining the worth of things. And when I think of the occult aspect of Scorpion energy, it's anything that's hidden, where it's like you think of back in the day before the internet and how we are able to reach each other so fast with information. Certain parts of investing, like I think of like, say, with how people are able to use life insurance to create their own banking situation, and trading, and all these different things were once occult, meaning they were hidden from the average person. And now through information, the average person have access to these things that are hidden. So with the new moon in Scorpio, to me, it could be like something is born. And when I say something is born, some non-tangible thing that governs the material aspect of life, some non-tangible thing that also determines the worth of the of the physical world, some non-physical thing that determines worth within the physical world is born. When I look at the new moon, it's squaring Pluto and Capricorn, which makes sense for me because with Pluto and Capricorn at 29 degrees, Pluto and Capricorn energy now direct. And for the rest of this, for the first 2 halves of this month, we'll be seeing major transformations as, and I mentioned this way back when I put out the Pluto retrograde video of how we'll see a grand finale of, whether it's companies closing down or people, stepping down from power. There's this major shift in power, and the new moon in Scorpio is squaring that. So whatever thing that's being born, to me, if it's like some occult, which is hidden financial thing, it's one that's being challenged by these shifts. Because when you think of Pluto energy, and you think of Pluto energy deals with death and rebirth. When I think of energy on a whole, energy never dies. So whenever we think of, like, say back in the day, how, slavery was a thing that was in front of everybody's faces, and when it appeared to be abolished, that energy within itself just shift into trafficking, shift into something that is not in front of the eyes of the majority, or it's done in a way where it might be right in front of us, but we can't see it, but it's still there. That energy is still there, unless, some way, somehow, collectively, we transmute that energy into something else. But the energy will never die. The energy will never die. And I guess as long as there's enough of us to feed into that energy, it will never die. And I feel like that's why they encourage fear. Because of course, I've said it all the time in my videos, I feel like there are entities amongst us that feeds on our fear. It's like the fear is like it's like a battery. The fear is an energy source that certain entities feeds upon. And as long as we keep projecting fear into the world, whenever these shifts happen, it allows for this energy to remain and hold its frequency instead of being transmuted into something else, transmuted into a more positive energy, but a reflection of that positive energy, if that makes sense. Like an energy that mirrors the intenseness of what it would take to, turn a business into buying and selling people, but like something, it transmute into just as intense energy, but something that's not negative, if that makes sense. So it's like the new moon in Scorpio is squaring Pluto in Pluto in Capricorn, which brings me to the third thing. And the third thing is what's challenging. So something about this new moon energy, this new beginning, this birth that feels forced within us to a certain extent, is challenged by changes that are that's happening in our world. And what comes to mind when I think of these changes, I think of like being forced to jump but being afraid to jump. Being forced to jump but being afraid to jump. So the new moon is like telling you to jump. The Pluto in Capricorn at 29 degrees, there's a fear of jumping because there's a fear of the unknown. But it's like the Pluto, you know, in Capricorn energy is forcing the jump anyways in the sense that you have nothing more to lose. Like, what else do you have to fight for type of vibe? Like, I think of with the new moon in Scorpio, say, and then the numerology that I just spoke on, I think of like the people who have been fearful of probably, say, starting some new thing within themselves that they want to go after. And they're afraid of starting it because they're afraid of failing. They're afraid of people not supporting it. They're afraid of starting it because in their mind, they feel like the day when they hit launch and start, there should be some big celebration from the world to validate them, when it just doesn't work that way. You know, it's like a seed, you plant it, you nurture it. It's like a small baby, you nurture it until it becomes independent. When it comes to this new moon energy, there's this encouragement to start something, to start your own thing, because Scorpio energy for me deals with self, what is the word, where it's like it's like focused on self, meaning it's self-sustaining energy. The word will come to me, but there's a focus on self-regenerating energy. So Scorpio energy is a self-regenerating energy. So with the new moon, to me, it's like creating something self-regenerating, meaning to me, this is where someone creates something for themselves that no one else can't take from you. Where I remember for talking to one of my brothers when he wasn't clear about what he wanted to go to college for. And at the time he was working at Walmart, you know, he's only 18, working at Walmart, and he's been there now like 2 years, 3 years, and he's getting comfortable. And I'm like, bro, like, you know, it's cool that you have a job there, but it's best to get a trade, because what if you get fired from Walmart and you because he's the type of person that's stable. He's a 4 person. So he's stable, and normally he commit, even though he's a birthday number 4, but he still got that 4 energy. He's the type of person that commits completely to whatever he's doing. And I know that about him, and I tell him like, bro, like, you know, I could see you getting comfortable here, even though they're promoting him and he's making more, but he's still young. And I'm like, you know, it's better to get a trade instead and get complacent within the trade, because say if you put 10 years into your job and they fire you, like, that 10 year, yes, you got 10 years of experience in whatever you were doing there, but it's not the same as having 10 years within a trade, because the more years you have within this trade, the more you can charge, because that's how you become more valuable. So when I look at this energy here, I think of the new moon in Scorpio is what's encouraging someone to say, step into something that no one can take from you. So it's like, I think of like, say, stepping into a trade, something you could do with your hands. And over time, you get good at that. No matter what, no one can take this skill from you, opposed to trying to hold a position with Pluto in Capricorn, trying to hold a position where you're filling a spot. And if it's taken from you, you have to start over. Where with a trade, say a person's an electrician and you put in 5 years within this company and they fire you, that's fine. That's 5 years you have of experience where you can go and apply to become, you know, I don't know the details of how it works, but you could apply to become independent, do your own thing, and the sky's the limit, or don't do your own thing if that's not for you, but no one can take that from you. And I feel like with the new moon in Scorpio and Scorpio energy being a self-generating energy, a self-focused energy, focused on creating power within oneself brings me to the fourth thing that I want to share, which is unexpected. And the unexpected is with Pluto at 29 degrees in Capricorn, getting ready to go back into Aquarius, and will happen, I think, the third week or the second to third week of November. It's like going to watch the fireworks, and the last few minutes of the fireworks, where it's like they're setting off everything that they have, the grand finale. I feel like we'll see a lot of, like, you know, we'll see a grand finale of businesses closing and things happening, but unexpectedly, it's forcing people into a situation to create something that no one can take away from them. I feel like at the end of the day, when it comes to these energies, even though it's challenging and it's scary when it comes to the shifts that are happening, what's most important is for us to, you know, become clear on what it is that we want to experience next. Hold that vision in our mind, and don't allow whatever is happening around us to intimidate us to see and focus on anything else. So it's like holding a vision in your mind of what it is that you want for yourself, and knowing that it can happen for you, it will happen for you, and don't allow anything to distract you from that. Because I think of, like, say, holding the vision in your mind, the vision itself is like a portal. The vision itself, no. Holding the vision in your mind is like, imagine you're a time jumper. You jump from dimension to dimension, and you have the ability. And what you hold in your mind determines where you end up. So it's like the frequency, to me, with the number 11 energy, which the number 11 energy will look like a doorway, and us being within a turbulent time. And that turbulence, to me, is like that force, that momentum that will shift you into dimensions. And in order to end up where you want to be, you have to hold the image in your mind of where you want to end up. Because if you get distracted on the chaos that's happening around you and allow yourself to entertain another thought, a shift might happen, and you might jump timelines or dimensions and end up where you don't want. And jumping a timeline or a dimension, for me, looks as simple as somebody gets up today and goes about their life business as usual, and some sudden and unexpected, what appear to be some sudden and unexpected thing happens. And the sudden and unexpected thing is a portal within itself, and it could either land them in a place where they want to be, or pull them away from where it is that they want to be. So to me, it's all about holding that vision as we enter into this energy. And like a portal, it will send you wherever based on the image that you're holding in your mind and how you feel in relation to all of that. And that brings me to the fifth thing that I want to share with this energy. And the fifth thing is the blessings. And I feel like when it comes to the blessings of this new moon energy, this new moon energy is pretty much activating the boss within you. And it's activating the boss within you in ways that is scary, in ways that is not just scary, in ways that are frightening. And I feel like the scary, frightening ways, you know, it brings me back to the 2020 lockdown, where some people, you know, lost their jobs, lost certain things. And in that moment, they were able to pivot and create something different for themselves, but would have never been able to do that without their back being against the wall. I think of those of us who we don't like to work under pressure, but when we're under pressure, we're forced to no longer procrastinate. Where when there's no pressure, we can procrastinate all day, but when there is pressure, it's like that pressure does something for you and gets you moving. And I feel like the blessing when it comes to this new moon energy is that the pressure will get you moving. And in the moment of being teleported, in the moment of being projected into a new dimension within this human experience, things will look chaotic, things will look scary, things will look crazy, but you just have to control your emotions and and when I say control your emotions, use your emotions to become aware or reminded of what it is that you're thinking. And when it comes to certain limiting thoughts, you want to address them. You know, the ones you want to address limiting thoughts, and you address limiting thoughts by questioning them. Question the truth in them. And when you question the truth in them, you realize they're based on no truth. It's like turning the light on to the boogeyman. It's like turning the light on in the dark closet, turning the flashlight under the bed. So it's like questioning it brings light, illuminates it, and you realize there's nothing to fear. And then after that, you create a positive affirmation to now redirect your thought and attentions to that. And whenever, you feel a negative emotions, you redirect your attention to something that makes you feel better. But if the negative emotion is one that, you might believe in it to a certain extent, you will need to address it so it doesn't hold that power. But challenge yourself within these times to focus on how life is supporting you. It's either you see the world as a safe space for you or an unsafe space. Either we see the world as a safe space or an unsafe space. And whatever you believe about that is true. Whatever you believe about that is true. If you feel like this world is unsafe and here are the reasons why, you are correct. I do not disagree with you. We don't need to debate. You're correct. It's an unsafe space for you. If you see the world as a safe space, because when challenging things happen, you choose to see them in a way that gives you your power back. You choose to focus on the things you're grateful for and how life is working for you. And you reflect on hard times and realize where the hard times has brought you. You see the world as a place that is supporting and loving. And there's no reason to argue with you about that. You're correct. Whatever you see or however you choose to see it, you're correct. And I feel like whatever it is that we hold on to in our mind is where we'll be teleported to, is where we'll get more of. It goes back to two kids growing up in the same house, growing up in the same neighborhood, and perceive their experiences completely different. Both kids grow up in a very toxic, doomed-like environment. And one of them rise from the ash like the phoenix, like a beautiful flower growing out of the cracks, and the other turns into weeds. And it comes down to the image we hold in our mind as we're going through these turbulent times. The image we hold into our mind, the things we choose to focus on. So this goes back to the information we choose to consume. I think of say how Jupiter is in Gemini, and it's exposing a lot of truth. It's bringing a lot to our attention. But what will you do with this information? What will you do with this information? How will you choose to apply this information to your life? With this new moon energy, I like how the new moon is positively aspecting Saturn and Pisces, that's squaring Jupiter in Gemini. And with the aspect made to Saturn, Saturn energy has slowed down so much to where we are able to see how powerful our intuition is, where we couldn't see that before. We're able to see how much power we gave away towards addictions and ways of escaping reality. And with the aspects being made to this new moon energy, it brings me to new moon in Scorpio positively aspecting Saturn and Pisces. We're able to see how we can materialize our dreams. And when I say our dreams, say you've always dreamt of pursuing a certain path, having a certain experience in this life. With the new moon in Scorpio, you're seeing how you need to create this thing for yourself that no one can take from you. With Saturn and retrograde in Pisces, you're able to see how. Where, for example, I think of how, failure is instructive, but we've been conditioned to see failure as the end. And failure can only happen if we quit. If we quit completely, where you could start one thing and move on to another, and that thing didn't work out, but you still didn't fail because you used the knowledge from that thing to guide you on the path of the other thing. Where for me, with this Saturn and retrograde and Pisces energy, there's some things that we may have tried in the past, and those things didn't work out. But for whatever reason within us, we're feeling called to go back to that thing, where you might be called to go back to cooking again, baking again, sewing again, dancing again, singing again, doing readings again, healing again. You're being called to go back to a thing, but there's this fear of going back to a thing because it didn't work out before. And the question is, why did it not work out? Because the cheat code is in the perceived failure. The key to move forward is in the perceived failure. The perceived failure has experience, is filled with experience. It's filled when you gave this thing a shot. What didn't work out? Was it boundary issues when it comes to people? Did this thing not work out because you're afraid to charge your worth? So you showed up and you did everything for free and you end up not seeing any money, so you thought something wasn't worth it? Did this thing work out because you jumped in and instead of focusing on one aspect of the business, you thought you were going to be able to do everything at once and you became overwhelmed because you weren't big enough or have enough resources to jump into all the things you were jumping into, and you felt overwhelmed and felt like something couldn't work for you when really the approach was wrong? And I feel like with the Saturn in retrograde energy, Jupiter in Gemini in retrograde, I feel like that energy is allowing us to see all the ways how, we misunderstood the information before. The information or the perceived failure wasn't saying that this isn't for you and you should quit. It's saying that the approach that you're taking is not the approach you need to take right now. And instead reverse engineer the challenge that you experienced, then learn from it, and then go back to the drawing board and then get out there. That's how I see Saturn in retrograde working. And then Jupiter in Gemini in retrograde giving a lot of context. And then Pluto in Capricorn shutting things down and forcing you to create something that someone cannot take away from you. That's how I see this energy working for us. Hey guys, I want to share with you 7 benefits of getting a numerology natal chart awareness coaching session. The first one is understanding your internal programming. The second one is becoming more clear about your purpose and passion. The third is setting goals for success. The fourth is awareness of strength and areas of improvement. And the fourth one was foundational for me because whenever you're aware of your weaknesses, no one can use them against you. And when you're aware of your strengths, that makes you unstoppable. And that is why I say self-awareness is a superpower. The fifth benefit is removing obstacles. We first have to become aware of a thing in order to remove it in the first place. The sixth benefit is understanding relationship dynamics. We don't have to change the people in our lives. We have to become aware of ourselves and start from there, and everything changes. And the seventh benefit is upcoming transits, if that's something that you would like to look into because you're planning for something or you just want to be aware. So if you're interested in booking a numerology natal chart awareness coaching session or learning more about it, the link to book or the link to send me an email for questions are both within the description box below. If you'd like to check out my Patreon where I share exclusive content, the link to check out what's happening on Patreon is in the description box below. You guys, it's always such a pleasure sharing these messages with you. Before you go anywhere, please let me know you're here with me by dropping me an orange and red heart in the comment box below. I would love to hear from you and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Love yourself as if your life depended on it, because it does. Take care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.